What's up, YouTube? I'm going to be doing another mock draft. This is mock draft 2.0. It is going to be as of posting this, we'll probably be roughly around exactly 12 days from the draft. I'll post another one 6 days from the draft, and I will post another one the day of the draft. There will be 4 mock drafts. This is my second mock draft, and there's going to be some changes from the first one. I don't think pick 1's going to change. Maybe not even pick 2. But there will be some changes. There's been trade rumors that teams have been trying to get some players that, probably won't be at their pick. Like, for instance, as a Penguins fan, I've heard a lot about Penguins wanting to trade up for Vigo Bjork, and a guy that I've really liked. I've heard Nashville might want to trade up for a guy like Chase Reed or Carson Karls. But at the end of the day, we'll have to see what happens. And this is going to be Mock Draft 2.0. Hope you guys enjoy. And we're starting it off with Toronto. And I mean, all things considered, as much as I've hemmed and hawed at who can go pick 2 or pick 3, or, I mean, it's all about who Toronto wants, and Toronto wants McKenna. Toronto's going to take McKenna pick 1. I'll be very surprised if they don't. I think if they do, it leaves a string of guys that's just going to go off the board one after another after another. Now, at 2, it's the same thing. You take Stenberg. He's there. He's the only other guy that I could see going number 1 other than Chase Reed. And San Jose could use a guy like Stenberg. And hey, if McKenna's there, I think San Jose takes McKenna. But now if you're going to San Jose at 3, I've gone Caleb Malhotra here quite a few times. And I don't think they're going to go with it again. I think they might go a different route. They traded Quinn Hughes, probably going to trade Elias Pettersson, and I think this is where Chase Reed comes off the board. I think instead of me taking him a little bit further down, I believe Chase Reed is the 3rd best player in this class. So going at 3, I think that's a great spot for him. Now, if you go look at Chicago at 4, let's see. Who do they have on their roster? Who cares? Actually, who do they have? They could take a defenseman here. Now, I know this isn't the best way to look at it, but if I'm being honest, I haven't looked much at Chicago's roster. It's probably the least team that I spent time on looking at. But I personally think you got Bedard. The defense in the NHL is solid enough. You don't necessarily need to draft one. And I mean, a second line C of Caleb Malhotra, that's a dream come true if I'm Chicago. Like that's perfect. Now, do I think Malhotra could go to 3 to the Canucks? I do. But at 4 to Chicago, I think that's still going to be a great fit. He could move over to wing, play with Bedard, or even Bedard could move over to wing. I could see Bedard making the move to wing. Now, if we're going Rangers here at 5, I think I've gone Vigo Bjork twice now at 5. So I'm going to change it up a little bit. Or actually, no, once. I've only done this once. I did another one by myself like a few days ago. Never got posted. File got corrupted. Kind of sucks. But we're going to go at 5. I think it's going to be a different pick, and I think it's going to be Albert Smits. By the way, when you're watching these videos, do not pay attention to these ranks in terms of, oh, well, he took a guy that's, a few ranks behind Keaton Verhoff. Keaton Verhoff's a phenomenal player. I just would personally have Albert Smits as a better fit for the New York Rangers. And I think Verhoff is a very good offensive defenseman. He has his good two-way ability. But I think Smits is a better two-way player, and I think he'll thrive a lot better in New York than a guy like Verhoff would. So, there's that. Well, now we got Calgary here at 6. Now, Calgary can go a few different routes. This could be a Vigo Bjork pick. This could be a Tynan Lawrence pick. This could be a Belshitz pick. This could be a Karls pick. This could be a Verhoff pick. Now, I personally think if I'm Calgary, now if any Calgary fans are out there watching this, if you're Calgary, I think you go with a guy like Verhoff or Karls. You traded away your 2 defensemen. You traded away Anderson. You traded away Weegar. Now, you need a defenseman. I know you guys have, what's his name? I'm not even going to try and remember. Actually, I could just go look right here. Where is he? Defenseman that you guys got up this season. Zane Perrick, that's his name. He is a very good defenseman. Now, he is, what is he? He's a right defenseman. Now, I was looking at Verhoff for this pick, but Carl's might be a better fit now that I think about it. But Carl's is more of a offensive guy. Actually, no. I think Carl's will be the pick here at 6 to Calgary, which leaves the door wide open here at 7 for Seattle, because they've got 3 great forwards. They've got 2 good defensemen, and I mean, they can go any way they want here. Now, if I'm Seattle, and they're most likely going to trade Matty Beniers, they're probably going to trade Shane Wright, I could see this being a good center spot. Now, who do I think will go? Viggo Bjork is definitely a guy that I think could go, but I think it's going to be Tynan Lawrence. I think Tynan Lawrence would be a great fit there in Seattle. Now, does Seattle have a problem with the drafting centers that never work out? Yeah, kind of. But they're going to hope that this one can work out. And now Winnipeg here at 8. I mean, Verhoff being here is fantastic for Winnipeg, but I don't think he's the best fit. I personally think at 8 here, you could go with a guy like Belshitz. You could go with a guy like Bjork. I don't think you're going to go defense here. Do they need defense? Yes. Do they trade for defense? Also, yes. I think if you're Winnipeg, I think Viggo Bjork would be the pick here. Viggo Bjork was a phenomenal player this year. I mean, I'm not going to go in depth on it, but I have the utmost respect and praise for this kid. I think he could be a top 5 pick. So here at 8 to Winnipeg, I personally think that's a steal. And then if you're Florida at 9, I think Savanto could be a good pick for you guys. I think Belshitz could be a good pick. This is another one where I don't really look at Oscar Hemming. He didn't get a great sample size. I mean, yeah, he didn't get a great sample size, so I don't think you go Verhoff. Weirdly enough, I think Verhoff could fall to Nashville at 10. But do I think a team could trade up? I do. Do I think a team's willing to trade up? I don't really know. I've done it before in possibly a previous mock draft, but I don't think this is a spot where a team would move up. I think if I'm Florida and I stick and pick here, I think they go Ethan Belshitz here at 9, which leaves Nashville with Verhoff and Rudolph. And if I'm Nashville, I run up to the podium to select Keaton Verhoff. I mean, I think that is a fabulous pick for them. And the fact that he fell to 10, I don't think it's going to happen in real life, but it definitely could. Now, St. Louis here at 11. Who have I had them going with before? I don't remember, if I'm being honest. But who do I see that they could go with? I could see a Juno Pepperinen. That wouldn't be a horrible pick. I could see a Daxon Rudolph. I think if you're St. Louis here, Oliver Savanto is... No. I think Oscar Hemming will be the pick for St. Louis. I think Hemming is a phenomenal two-way forward. I think he's going to get it done in St. Louis. They're probably going to ship out Kyrou. He could take over in a second-line spot, move up a Jimmy Snuggerud to first line. I think that could be a very good pick there for St. Louis. And then if you are now in New Jersey at 12, JP Hurlburt could be a good pick here. I think if you're New Jersey at 12, Savanto is your pick. You get another center. I mean, the thing is, I've heard so much talk, like, oh, Jack Hughes could be out the door. I don't see that happening. Oh, Nico Hischier could be out the door. I don't see that happening. But eventually, one of those guys will probably get moved. Jack Hughes could even move to a winger if need be. Now, I think Savanto is a phenomenal center, but I think he could also thrive as a winger. So I'll leave that there for you to interpret if there's any Devils fans out there. But now we got the Islanders at 13. And who would I go here with the Islanders? Daxon Rudolph could be a phenomenal pick, but they have Schaefer, and I don't know if they'd be willing to take another defenseman here. They have Yzerman in the system too, and Eklund. I mean, these guys, they've drafted so well. They should have Keyshawn Aitchison. Yes, they do. So, I mean, they've drafted very well over the past few years. And I don't know necessarily where I would go if I am the Islanders. I think you could see a Maddox pick here. You could see a Daxon Rudolph pick here. But I personally think Nikita Klepov would be a phenomenal pick here for the Islanders. Now, is that more of I'm not taking defensemen because they have Schaefer and Aitchison? Yeah, that's exactly why I'm not taking defensemen. They have good young depth at defense, and I don't think they need to take another one here at 13. Klepov is a fantastic forward. He can come in, help run an offense. Him and Schaefer on the power play would be fantastic. And, I mean, speaking of power plays, there's a few guys here that I took that can be phenomenal for teams on the power play that I never even mentioned. Chase Reed can come in and help run that power play 1 for Vancouver. You could get Carson Karls to run the power play 1 with Zane Parekh if you want, or he could even be the number 2 guy. Vigo Bjork will be in the power play 1 guy in Winnipeg at some point. Like, there's really good players in this class. It's all about who you value as a team. And now if I'm Columbus, I don't know who to go. Because Klepov would have been fantastic for you. So would a Savanto. So would a Oscar Hemming. But now that none of them are here, I don't know if you stick and pick. You could trade back. A team that I could see trading up would be Utah for a JP Hurlburt, but I could also see him falling. I don't see the need for them to trade up for him. But now if I'm Columbus, you've got Fantilli, you've got good draft prospects. I personally think Columbus could go Hurlburt, but I don't think that they will. I think if I'm Columbus in this spot, you go Daxon Rudolph. He's a guy that you could bring in. He could be a power play 2 kind of guy. He'll be your second line defenseman. He'll do fantastic with Daxon Rudolph. I mean, with Zach Werenski. Daxon Rudolph will be fantastic with Zach Werenski. And I think that'll be a great pick for them at 14. And now at 15 with St. Louis again. They took Oscar Hemming, and I said Daxon Rudolph would have been a solid pick for them at 11. Now he just went. Do I think they'll take a Villeneuve or a Ryan Lynn? I don't. I think this is where JP Hurlburt goes. I think him and Hemming could come in and do some damage in St. Louis, and I think that would be fantastic for St. Louis fans. Now, do I think they could go a defenseman here like Villeneuve or like a Ryan Lynn? I do, but I think in terms of what they need the most, St. Louis needs more forward help. They're probably going to get rid of Robert Thomas. They're probably going to get rid of Jordan Kyrou. There's going to be a huge roster turnover for that team this offseason, and they're going to need to pick up a forward. And I think Hurlburt and Hemming could be your second-line duo or even first line at some point if they get to where I projected them to be, which is, I think, Hurlburt could be a second-line winger, and I think Hemming could be a second-line winger. Like, I think they can be very good players. Washington here at 16. I mean, you've just seen a string of forwards go off the board. There's still Villeneuve, there's still Ryan Lynn. But if I'm Washington here, I think an Adam Novotny and Ilya Morozov could be a very good pickup for them. And I don't know if I've had Villeneuve falling as far as he has, although I assume I've probably taken him to like LA at 17. I think if I'm Washington, Adam Novotny would be the pick here. And they still have another pick here in a second where I think they could go with a guy like Morozov still, or a Juho Piparainen, or a Maddox not even going to pronounce that. Sorry, buddy. I think it could be fantastic pickups for your team. Now, we are 16 picks in. We are halfway through. I think so far every team would be moderately happy with their pick. There's definitely some that won't be. Now, if I'm LA here at 17, who do I go with? And Drew Doughty's going to retire soon. Kopitar retired. Now, do I think they need an immediate fix for Kopitar? I don't. And I think that's why a guy named Ryan Lynn would be a fantastic pick in LA. I think he can thrive there. I think that would be one hell of a connection there for a first season or two with Doughty. But I think he's going to learn a lot from Doughty as well, where I think a Villeneuve wouldn't be too bad, but he's more of an offensive defenseman. Ryan Lynn is an offensive defenseman, but he can learn a lot from Doughty. Now, Washington again here at 18. I think Morozov could be a pick. I think Villeneuve could be a pick. I personally, I've done this now twice with teams that have 2 picks. Usually a team will go forward D. I think both these teams go forward, and I think Washington selects Novotny, and I think they select Morozov. I think Washington can use some help on that forward spot once Ovi retires, and I think defense will be fine enough. I think you're going to be able to find good enough defensemen on day 2 of this draft that you don't necessarily need to take one this early. Like, I mean, Ethan McKenzie is a fantastic player. You can find him late second round. Now, if you're Utah at 19, I think with everything that's happened, I had them originally trading up for possibly a Dax and Rudolph if I saw fit, which I didn't. And I think Villeneuve falling here to them would be a fantastic pick. They have tons of good defensemen already, but Villeneuve's one of those offensive defensemen that at 19, he's a great pick. You don't have to go down and, I guess, reach down the board for a guy like a Robrick or maybe a guy like a Pantels. Sorry. So I think that's a fantastic pick for them. And then now if you're San Jose at 20, I think San Jose at 20, this is a Mathis Preston spot, and I think that's exactly where I'm going to go. They've taken Stenberg, and then you take Mathis Preston. Now, while you have Will Smith on that second line, I think Mathis Preston is going to probably take over that center spot for him. And Will Smith could move up to the first. You could get Eklund on the second line with Preston. And you got yourself a good team there. I mean, I don't see why that team would do bad with that pick right there. I mean, then you even got Stenberg. He'd probably hop up on the first line with Celebrini and Smith. I think that's a fantastic pick. So, not much else to be said about that. And I guess we will move on to Philadelphia. Moving on to Philadelphia now at 21, I think this could go multiple different ways. Do I see them potentially taking a defenseman? Yeah, I mean, I could see them taking Pepperinen here. I think that'd be a great pick for them. Going to defense in total, I think any of these guys all the way down to Belial could go here. I think if you're Philly, you need more offense, but I don't think you need to take a forward here. I think Pepperinen would be a great pick here if I'm Philadelphia at 21. Now, do I think there's other routes they could go? Yeah, I think they could trade out of this pick. I think they could even trade up for another defenseman like a Verhoff, like a Dax and Rudolph. Now, keep in mind, do I realistically think Verhoff's going to be here at 10? I don't think so, but just the way that I've had this board falling for them, it just, Nashville got really lucky with that. And then, in terms of defensemen, I think Pittsburgh goes another defenseman here, and I think they pick Tommy Blyle. I think Tommy Blyle's a fantastic offensive defenseman, and I think he can thrive in there with. I think he can thrive with Pittsburgh. He's another right shot defenseman. NHL loves the right shot defenseman. He averaged a point per game in the Q this year, so he's done his due diligence in the Q. I think he'd probably get signed almost immediately, come up and play with Wilkes-Barre, and I think Pittsburgh would have a fun time with him. I think it'll be an interesting spot. There's definitely players here that they could take over him, like a Wyatt Cullen. His dad played for Pittsburgh, the Ruck brothers also. But I think Belial would just be the pick here if I'm Pittsburgh. And now if I move on to Boston at 23. Now, call me crazy, but Wyatt Cullen screams Boston Bruin to me. And I don't know what it is, but he just, in my head, I can picture Wyatt Cullen in a Bruins jersey. It's just, he fits the mold, I guess. Like, I don't know what else to say, but sorry, Boston, is probably going to be a short one. Wyatt Cullen is a Bruin in my mock draft. Now, Vancouver here at 24. They went Chase Reed at 3. And I think if I'm Vancouver here at 24, I think Maddox is here. I think you take him. He's a solid center. Makes up for not taking a guy like Malhotra at 3, but you got to Chase Reed. Chase Reed's going to be a phenomenal hockey player. I see nothing wrong with the guy. Now, if you're 25, Seattle picked already, did they not? Yes, they picked Tynan Lawrence as center, which now primes them to take Malte Gustafsson, who I was going to have going to Pittsburgh originally. But then I realized Tommy Blyle was there. Now, Malte Gustafsson would be a fantastic defenseman. I think he would do works for Seattle. I think he could come in, be your second-line defenseman. He'd be a very good shutdown guy. And I think Seattle would be very happy with that pick. They'd be happy with their first round, getting Tynan Lawrence and Malte Gustafsson. Now, if I am the New York Rangers here, they went with Albert Smits. Now, do I think they could go with another defenseman? Because William Hackinson is here. I do. I think they could go with another defenseman. And I think they should, but I don't think they will. I think if I'm New York here, Ryan Robrick would be a fantastic pick. Now, is there definitely other guys that I could see going here? Yeah, but I don't think necessarily they have to. Now, that's a great pick for New York, and at 27, we get Buffalo. Let's actually talk back on the New York pick. New York with Ryan Robrick, he's going to be their line 2 guy. They could ship Lafreniere out the door, and I think that would be fantastic. And then now if you're Buffalo at 27, this is one of those ones where people could call it a reach, but I think if you're Buffalo at 11, I think Jax Hextall is the pick. He is a fantastic forward. Now, could they use a defenseman? They could, but I don't think they're going to take one here. And then I think Jax Hextall is one of those guys where you spot him in at line 2. You get a guy like, what's his name? Where is he? Peyton Krebs could be a fantastic guy. Zach Benson is who I'm thinking of. Benson could be a fantastic pair with Jack Hextall. I think Jack Hextall is easily going to be a second-line center. But other than that, I think that's a fantastic pick if I'm the Buffalo Sabres. Now, if you move here to Montreal at 28, there's a lot of different roads that I think that they could go here. I think they could go with one of the Ruck brothers, but I don't think they will. I think they could go with Valentini. I think they might. I think they could go with Hackinson, and I think that's going to be the pick. William Hackinson to the Montreal Canadiens. He is a solid shutdown defenseman. He is got some good offensive upside, but you'd have to teach it to him. And I think there's not much ways in terms of wrong that you can go with William Hackinson. And I think that's a phenomenal pick for the Montreal Canadiens. I've taken Hurlburt. I've taken Hemming. And perfectly for St. Louis, Pantelis has fallen all the way here to 29. And I said their last pick, I said, hey, usually you might want to go with a forward and a defenseman. Well, they have 3 picks. They have 2 forwards and a defenseman now, and I think that's basically everything that they could ask for heading into this draft. Now, if I'm Calgary again, Calgary had taken Carson Karls, and I think that's a fantastic pick. Now, at 30, I think a Mikey Fairchild or Bearchild would be the pick here. I think Mikey Bearchild is a guy that you could spot in as a bottom 6 forward. As a first-round pick, you're not going to find many of these, top-end elites in the bottom 3 of the draft. First round, at least. But I think there's a lot that can be said about Mikey Bearchild. I'm not going to say it all, because I don't want to make this like a 2-hour video. I could go through all these players and probably talk 10 minutes on each, but I don't want to make this a 2-hour video. I want you guys to sit here and enjoy this. Now, at 20, or no, not 20, at 31 to Carolina, do I think there's a lot of different players they could go here? I do. Do I think they're going to go goalie? No. Do I think they could go with a defenseman? I do. Do I think they will? No, I think they're going to go Adam Valentini. I think Adam Valentini would be a fantastic pick in Carolina. And then looking at Ottawa here at 32, there's multiple different roads that they could go down as well. I think the most likely road is one of the Ruck brothers. But I don't think, with what was rumored at the draft, that the Ruck brothers want to play together and will be unsatisfied if they don't. I don't look too much into that. But I think Ottawa could use a defenseman, but do I think that they should take one? No, I don't think anybody left here is worth taking. I think if you're Ottawa here at 32, I think Brooks Rakowski could be a good guy. I think, he could be fine. But personally, I think if you're going to go anything here, if you're Ottawa, maybe go Marcus Ruck, Liam Ruck. No, I think they go Brooks Rakowski, but could go multiple different directions with that pick. Now, there was a lot of good picks here. Let me know what you think on the draft. That is my mock draft 2.0. There will be 3.0 coming in 6 days. And then we will be doing one the day of the draft I'll probably do it the night before the draft, but it will be posted about a few hours to an hour before the draft. That was my mock draft 2.0. Make sure you like, subscribe. I'm repeating myself now because I'm at the end of the video and I'm just reading through the names. I think there's a lot of good picks here, teams that would like all of these picks. But I hope you guys have a good day, and I will catch you in the next one.